folks, welcome back. So one of my biggest criticisms I get on the pile of other criticisms I get in this hobby and this YouTube community is that, Alex, you're too bullish. You need to talk about both sides of the coin. You got to talk about the negative, the deep, dark, scary, the losing money side, because it's kind of disingenuous to your audience to always talk about everything going up and never focus on any of the negatives that could happen. The people who do lose money do get in positions at the wrong timing and do have to take losses and end up in bad financial situations. And I thought about this and I said, you know what? It's a very valid criticism. I do need to do that more often, and that's what we're going to do today. I know people always want me to share my losses. Guys, I don't have any big losses, and maybe that's due to just getting lucky, right? Maybe it's due to the time I entered the hobby. Maybe it's due to, how I enter positions and the amount of time I'm able to hold things. But, my biggest losses in the hobby are like in the hundreds. We're not talking the thousands or tens of thousands or anything like that, right? My biggest losses, I guess one of the most public ones is Pokemon Go. Where, maybe I buy 20 cases and I have to sell 15 of them because I know it's not going to go anywhere for a long time. And, we're talking like $300-$400 after fees and shipping are taken out. Like, that's the kind of losses I've had. Or like when I grade cards, if they don't get the grades I want, like we're talking, $50, $100, I don't know, whatever kind of loss we're talking there, if not break even. Or, other losses I guess you could consider like holding things with no growth, such as like things like Shining Fates, where I, kind of no growth from that and I've been holding it for a good while now. And so you could call that kind of an opportunity cost loss, right? But I've never had any gigantic losses. And I think the reason is I don't take as big a chances as other people. And I think depending on the amount of chances you take in this hobby is really going to depend on the amount of losses that you might actually suffer. And so we're going to talk about the whole slew of that in just a second. Before we do that though, guys, I gotta brag a little bit, just for all the naysayers who always leave those nasty comments in my comment sections, tell me how stupid I am, say I should be dumping all these alt arts, say I shouldn't be buying these, and it's all a bubble, it's all being manipulated, it's all gonna crash. Man, I'm glad I didn't listen to you guys. Oh, hold on, I got a couple more stacks here. Man, I'm glad I didn't listen to all the naysayers, right? Because, what am I up on some of these now? Like 80, 100, 120, 150% in a few months? But, yeah, tell me all about how Modder's not investable, alt arts are all going to go to zero, all this is manipulated. Tell me again later on that. I'm going to continue collecting and making money and having a good time. All right, back to the negative side. Sorry, I had to do it. All right, it's back to the negative side. The biggest way that you can protect yourself from not taking heavy losses is not take heavy risks, right? When you are buying into sealed product in the 80s and 90s, a booster box, it may not be the sexiest play. It's not going to be the fastest play, right? It's going to take time, but you have such a low risk to ever lose money doing that. Basically, your biggest risk is a few percent down or stagnation for long periods of time. Just like I talked about with Shining Fates. That's kind of your risk, right? Booster boxes have a 100% track record of rising over time within the 2, 3, 4 year time period. And so you have all the historical data on your side, right? You have, scarcity on your side, at least past get rid, boxes disappear. And so you have a lot higher probability of making money when you buy into sealed product at those valuations. Now, when you're buying into boxes that have already spiked, say like an Evolving Skies box, right? When you're buying into boxes at $700, yeah, you're taking a higher risk. Now, it's still more calculated. It's out of print. That, no more supply is hitting the market. It's continuously dropping in supply. You know how high dollar the cards in the set are. And so it can still make sense to buy. What I'm saying is it's no longer at its all-time low. It's no longer at its floor, right? Where, people want to say Pokemon boxes don't have a floor. They can go to zero. But I talk about the floor as in what we've seen in the past 10 years. We've never seen them drop under sort of the mid to high 70s at the very lowest. And so that's kind of the floor. The 70s and 80s is kind of the floor. And so, yeah, after the boxes are really far off their floor, you're definitely incurring more risk. And so I would say understand that and have kind of the money to back it up or the time to hold or, the financial stability to be able to take those higher risks before you do that. Same goes with slabs, guys. The safest way to enter a slab investment is going to be great yourself, right? It's going to be, if you're good at looking at pictures on eBay, or the guy has good pictures, or if you're at an event, a collecticon, somewhere where people are vending, a local card shop where you can actually see the card in your hand. Now, again, nothing's 100% PSA, it's humans grading, but you have a lot higher probability of getting that 10. And when you grade it yourself, right, you have all that margin built in to where that card could absolutely tank, and a lot of times you're still going to be up on it if the 10 did have enough margin built in to where it can suffer some losses. And then buying into slabs, you're going to incur that higher risk. You can do very well. I've done very well with it, but I'm in the position where I can take some more risks now, a lot more than I used to, right? And the reason for that is, and this is going to be kind of a Debbie Downer moment for anyone newer to the hobby. The sad truth is, when you're newer, you don't, unless you're, financially, wealthy already, or you're already stable, you don't care about it. It's a lot harder to take those risks. It's a lot harder to I guess, make those plays in the hobby when you have no money built up in the hobby. And what I mean by that is, I've been in the hobby for 9 years, right? So I've been able to consistently build up, flips and collection buyouts and, grading myself and then holding sealed product, letting that product rise. Like, I've talked about it before, but I can't lose. I literally cannot lose in this hobby. And what I mean by that is the amount of money I made selling back in 2020, 2021, I still don't have as much inventory still to this day than the amount of money I made then. So literally, this could go to zero. Technically, this hobby could go to zero, meaning no one wants to buy a single thing, and I would still be overall up on the entire time I've been collecting and investing in this hobby. And that's the thing, guys. It just takes time, and as time marches on, and things do appreciate, and the boxes go out of stock, and they go out of print, and they start to appreciate, and your investments appreciate, and you can start selling off some of your investments, taking the profits, holding some long term with zero cost basis. As you continue to grade more, and maybe you can sell off some of the stuff, some of the doubles, and get and profit from those, and keep some of the other graded cards basically at no cost basis to you out of that whole order, and you can continue to build that over time. Well, then you start having that $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, $20,000 in profit or unrealized gain in the hobby. And so it gives you a little more leeway, a little more room to start making those more, more profitable but more risky plays. And, if some they don't go your way, well, it's like, okay, no problem. I'll just, I can sell another box that I have zero cost basis on, and I can kind of recoup all the money I lost from that play, move on, and try again. Because, if you know what you're doing, and you get enough experience, odds are you're going to continue to be more successful than you are not successful. And so, like I always talk about, if you're right 70, 80, 90% of the time in this hobby, you're going to consistently build wealth and build higher dollar values in your investment or your collection, whatever you want to call it, just because the time marches on. And so, yes, there are people that take losses in this hobby. A lot of the reasons this is because they get wrapped up in FOMO. They start panic buying on the way up. And it's not always a bad thing to buy on the way up. I mean, I bought some of these alt arts on the way up, right? I mean, I bought some of these alt art. I'm still buying, right? I mean, when I find the right deals, but I bought some of these alt arts on the way up, and I'm still up on them. And so it's not always a mistake to buy into strength, but it's a mistake to buy into strength when you haven't done any due diligence for yourself. You're not actually understanding why it's moving, where it could go. You're not actually making any calculations or taking any risk profile for yourself on like, well, how long do I want to hold this? If it doesn't go my way, where could it fall to? Where could it go to? And so that's one thing that gets people in trouble, is kind of like we've seen in the, back in 2020, 2021 with people chasing all the vintage stuff. What we've seen in the last year of people chasing all the Japanese stuff. We've seen some of the waifu cards, drop like 80%. So, I mean, if you're buying near the top, you're down like 80%. You could be down hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars. And, that's where people, get really upset when a channel like mine constantly shows, the growth and the positive sides, because they've experienced that and they feel that pain. And so that's one thing I would say is don't chase things. But even booster boxes, don't be upset you missed out on a play, right? Like, don't see Lost Origin right now at 220. And again, I'm not saying Lost Origin can't go to 400 or 500. What I'm saying is don't just start panic buying just because you see the prices go up. You actually sit back and say, okay, how much risk do I want to take? Obviously, Lost Origin is more risk. Maybe it goes back in stock in Pokemon Center. Maybe it drops back down to 180. Maybe it takes some more time to get back to the 220. Maybe it takes forever to get to 300. Who knows? Or do I want to get one of these Scarlet Violet sets at $80, $90 a box? It's near its floor. I have very little risk. Maybe I should go that route. Same thing with the slabs. You know, maybe I should be really selective at what I buy, get the cards that have a very high percentage rate of getting a 10, you know, well-centered, no nicks, no border wear, no surface wear. You know, if I send in 100 of these cards, probably 90 of them are going to get 10s. But then when you start getting more of that money built up, you can start taking a little more chances. Like, it's got a white nick on the border. It's a little off-center, but I'm just going to start sending them because if a good portion of them get 10s over 9s, I'm still going to come out ahead. And you can start, you know, pushing the envelope a little bit. But I would suggest anyone newer to the hobby to not push it too much. Take the safer plays. Get into the products when they're at their lows. If you're wanting to like start collecting, if you're wanting to get in the slab game, maybe get into some of the newer slabs that are still like $30, $40, $50 in PSA 10s as IRs and SIRs, which I think is crazy, but that's one thing I've been doing. Same with the boxes. And the best thing you can do, guys, if you're worried about, you know, taking losses, taking risks, just start out flipping, right? That's a lot of the reason I started out in the hobby. I started out collecting, and then I started out flipping, and then I started to invest. And flipping can be great because you start building your collection with zero cost basis to yourself. And what I mean is you can kind of price out any collection buy or any lot buy. You can start pricing everything out and say, okay, there's $1,000 in value here. If I can get this at auction for $600, $700, I know that I can break it down, do some work, take some time, but I can recoup my money, and I can also keep, you know, X, Y, or Z out of that collection. Or I can sell everything, use those profits to buy the box or the card I want, then rinse and repeat that process. And literally, other than work, you're not really taking a whole lot of risk, unless, you know, there's always risk in anything, guys. If the market drops, you know, the next day and that collection you bought is now worth $500, there's always risk, but that's going to be the least risky way of building your position and building your collection is starting out flipping. Use those profits to build your collection or build your investment. After you have your investment built and you have, you know, a good, however much is comfortable to you, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10,000 plus dollars in total value, and then you feel like, well, hey, if I start making some plays and I screw up, that's all right. I can always, you know, sell off, you know, an item, and then I can recoup that money, and I'm good because I put in the groundwork in the beginning. And so that's pretty much what it comes down to, guys. Like, unfortunately, guys, I'm transparent. I tell you, if I had some big crazy loss story, maybe it's because, you know, again, got lucky, right? I mean, I just got lucky at the time I got in the hobby. Things were on the uptrend. I guess I'm lucky because I'm more conservative, or I have been more conservative with my plays, or whatever it may be. But I just don't have these crazy loss stories because I don't chase things. I'm more okay with missing out than I am okay with, like, you know, having to get in or taking a loss. So I'd rather just miss out on a play than take a loss on a play and wait for it to come back for years or always be down on it, things like that. So be more okay with missing things, and that'll help you out. But yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I get people want to hear both sides. They want it to be fair. They want it to be realistic so people don't get hurt. But guys, I mean, there are ways in this hobby to do it very responsibly, to make very high percentage plays. If you have the right time horizons and you get into the right prices, this is still a very, very low risk hobby, in my opinion, right? Others can have their own opinions, but in my opinion, buying booster boxes, very low dollars, right? Buying, you know, cards under market that are gradable and grading them 10s, like these are very low risk plays. You know, buying collections, buying lots, flipping them, using that money to buy. It's a very low on the buying end. Once you get the profits, it's a zero risk play. You're buying in at zero cost basis to you. It just costs you some time and effort. And so, that's kind of my advice to everyone out there. It's not that I'm trying to promote this idea that everything always goes up forever. It's just, you know, it's kind of like the whole Jim Cramer thing. There's always a bull market somewhere. Guys, when some things are down, other things are up. Like, as long as you're remaining fluid, you can always find areas of the market where you can make money, you can profit, you can make appreciation. And when some of your things are down, other things are up, and it's kind of the whole mutual fund effect. And so that's just my best opinion for everyone. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to reach out, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them for you. And hope this video helped. My name's Alex. This is Nostalgianomics. I'll be back here in a new one soon. I'm out.